Hello cupcakes. Today I'm going to take you through a tour of some of my spiritual jewellery. Now this video was really difficult to plan for because I started going through stuff in my head and then I started looking through my 5 different jewellery boxes and I realised that, being a pantheist and having such a broad spectrum of interests in terms of what I learn spiritually and what I believe in spiritually, most of my jewellery has some kind of spiritual implication of some sort. So, for example, a few things that I left out were I have a couple of clock faces that I wear. I have a clock face ring that I wear, and I have a small clock face that goes around my neck. That to me has a spiritual implication because of the ideas that it goes into regarding time not being linear, regarding other dimensions, and all that kind of stuff. But I left them out because I thought, okay, strictly it's not spiritual in terms of anything traditional or anything that people could relate to. There's also loads of random stuff, like I have a brooch of the ruby slippers from The Wizard of Oz. To me, The Wizard of Oz is a deeply spiritual film. I mean, it is one of my favourite films of all time, but it also does have quite a lot of spiritual connotations. And when I put the brooch on, I kind of put it on for that type of reason. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that I left out, and a lot of the jewellery that I feel pertains to psychedelic spirituality, the use of entheogens and stuff like that. I basically had to pare it down to the essential. So that's what I've tried to do. The first thing I want to say before we begin, though, is that probably one of my most important pieces of spiritual jewellery is one of my tattoos. Not all of my tattoos have a spiritual connotation. Actually, they're more to do with films and books that I like. But this one, I don't know if I'm going to be able to angle myself correctly. This one here, it says "Holy the hideous human angels," and it's a quotation from Footnote to Howl by Allen Ginsberg. But it was actually taken, the idea that Allen Ginsberg took was originally from William Blake, who wrote a long time before Allen Ginsberg was born the words, "Everything that lives is holy." And this is a big deal for me in terms of when I started reading Blake and the reasons for which I started reading Blake, and then later on when I discovered Ginsberg and Kerouac and all that good stuff. And I realised that Ginsberg was actually channeling Blake and channeling that sentence that Blake wrote during Footnote to Howl. I realised that it was deeply ingrained in my pantheistic beliefs and is a big part of the central core of, what I feel about life, the universe, and everything. So, Holy the Hideous Human Angels has been on my arm now since 2007. I actually got it done in New York, in Greenwich Village, on the block that Allen Ginsberg used to live on. So I made sure that I got it done all kind of like authentically and as a kind of tribute to him. But it is basically just a confirmation of my pantheistic beliefs and stuff like that. So that's kind of a piece of permanent jewellery that I have on me. My tattoos aren't actually very pictorial or decorative, it's mostly all about the words. I do have some birds on this arm, for my Wild at Heart David Lynch tribute tattoo, but they're the only pictures I'm probably going to have. I don't know if I'm too much of a pictorial tattoo kind of girl, but we'll see. Lately I've been thinking about doing some of my own, kind of like the old school way with Indian ink and a safety pin, because I have a couple of friends of mine who do that and they're really good at it. They're good at sterilising and directing the ink where they want it to go, and actually they look fantastic. They're so delicate and fine. I mean, this tattoo on this arm is so fine. In fact, my father has so many tattoos, and when he saw this tattoo he said he had no idea that they could do tattoos that fine. So it is quite fine, but the ones you can do yourself with a safety pin look pretty righteous. So I'm considering it, but obviously I just don't want to screw it up. My friends are obviously very good at it, and I don't know whether or not I'm good at it, but you don't get a second chance with these things. It's there for life. So I'm considering it. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out the way first, that is, I guess, a piece of spiritual jewellery. It reminds me every day of my spiritual leanings and feelings and desire to explore further and whatnot. Also, I am wearing my pentagram ring today. So that's obviously a standard piece of pagan kit. I also have like a few pentagram pendants, but I can't find my main one at the moment, which is a bit of a worry. I actually do have kind of a main one that comes on a silver string that I wear quite often, which is actually bigger than these, but these are some of the ones that I have. They're just basically pentagrams of various different sizes, and I have actually been outed as a pagan several times from wearing them. I don't wear them every day by any means. I like to change up my jewellery quite a lot, and a lot of the stuff that I wear merely because it's very aesthetically pleasing. and it goes with my outfit and whatever else. But a few times when I've worn the pentacles, I have been outed as a pagan. People have said, "Oh, are you a pagan? Like, I know a little something about that." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I am." But like at work and stuff in an office, it's kind of weird. You have to kind of check who's about and stuff. Anyway, I have gone on far too long with my tattoo story and this and that, so I'm going to begin by talking about the Catholic bling, because as I've mentioned in a few previous videos, I do come from an Irish Catholic background. I wasn't myself personally raised Catholic. My father was staunchly atheist and my mother is some kind of Christian, Buddhist, pagan, New Age, witchy traveller lady. So there's a bit of a mishmash there. But I was always very attracted to the Catholic bling, and as I mentioned, I think in my chaos and customization video, which I did a little while ago, I mentioned that going into Catholic churches, attending mass with my nana, etc., were big ways in which I kind of came to understand what devotion looks like, what ritual looks like, and it was all very sort of steeped in mysticism, and it was very enigmatic, but there was lots of like candles and things and statuettes, and that obviously stayed with me. It totally stayed with me. Catholicism and paganism, as much as they'd hate to hear me say it, look very similar. The acts of worship look quite similar, so I do have a lot of Catholic bling that I've collected over the years. I love rosaries. I find them to have such a huge energy of reverence to them. And the first one that I want to talk to you about is this one, because I love this. Okay, the pink pearls of the rosary were given to me by a friend who was having a jewellery clear out, and she said to me, "Do you want these pink pearls from a rosary? There's no cross for them, it's just the pink pearls." I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll pick that up and I'll put a cross on it at some point, you know, because the pink pearls are actually very pretty." So I took it from her, and about 5 days later, on my front porch when I was leaving for work, I found this little cross on the ground, this gold cross on the ground. And I thought, my God, that is so odd. It's actually like the universe has completed this rosary for me. So that was really, really cool. And then I have these four, which are just all different colours. I've got like a mint green one, a nice brown one, a black and a blue one. The blue one I bought in Florence on a trip to Florence when I visited the cathedral there. So more bling, and these are not even all of my rosaries. I had to be selective. I have one of those plastic ones with the string, you know, one of those cheap ones that they give to children before a confirmation, before they get kind of like the real deal. I love these because they remind me of being able to play with my cousins' rosaries when I was really young, because some of my cousins indeed were raised Catholic and were confirmed, so I like to play around with theirs. This is not actually a rosary, but it's vintage. It was bought for me by my boyfriend, and it kind of has that rosary vibe to it, and I absolutely love the cross. I find it so ornamental, so aesthetically pleasing. So that goes on quite a lot, and I suppose it's got kind of like a goth feel to it as well. Bit of a Stevie Nicks vibe happening there, which I love. And then lately I've been getting into wooden rosaries. This never really used to be my thing so much, but lately I'm really getting into it. So I have this one here, which is much more of a kind of, I guess you'd say, like the Mexican folk Catholicism vibe. Like it has different images that you wouldn't normally see. Like it has the Holy Child of Atocha on there, so it's more of a Mexican vibe kind of feel. And then I also have other things that pertain to Christianity / Catholicism. Like I have this bracelet here, which I hugely love, and you would have seen me wearing it in videos before, no doubt. Again, you've got the Holy Child there, and you've got the Mother Mary. So I totally love this one. This is, I'm a huge fan of this one. And I have other ones with kind of idols and stuff on. Oh, do you know what I have that I completely forgot to include here? I have a silver bracelet that has popes on it. Like popes from the past and present. Like Pope John Paul II is on it. The current Pope, who actually is no longer the Pope, I've just remembered there's a new guy now. He's on it, and paintings of like past popes. So that's really odd. And I think I bought that one in Rome, and outside the Vatican, in fact, where they have all these lovely, like really cheap and trashy outlets for buying, I guess you'd call it kitsch Catholic jewellery. I love it. I bought some Mother Mary shaped candles there as well and stuff. So yeah, I just really love it. It's something that I've brought with me from childhood, and it's not meant to be blasphemous particularly, although having a crucifix shaped knuckle duster is a little bit blasphemous probably. But look, it's so cool. I mean, how can you deny me? How can you deny me my cross knuckle duster. I can't help it. It's so cool. But yeah, I love all the Catholic bling. I have a few more bits to show. I bought this little Christ pendant, again in Florence, in the basement of the cathedral there, which they've turned into a gift shop, which in itself could potentially be seen as blasphemous, I suppose. There are still some tombs down there, but mostly it's just stuff you can buy. So I love this one. This is very kind of like the typical westernized idea of Christ, which I was raised with. My nana's house is full of images of Christ looking like that very Aryan kind of clean-cut hippie boy. So I've kind of always adopted that. This Mother Mary pendant, which I adore, I actually bought in the red light district in Amsterdam. So that's definitely blasphemous. Very ironic. I like irony in jewellery and in most aspects of life. So that one I love and I wear a lot. I have loads and loads of crosses, loads of crucifixes. Not so much crucifixes, that's only really for the rosaries, but I like the shape of the cross. Again, it reminds me of that reverence that I was so exposed to as a child when I insisted on going to mass with my nana. So I have that kind of feeling in me. I don't know, it just gives me this feeling of reverence, and obviously it's very aesthetically pleasing, it's very beautiful, and it's kind of a universal image, and I'm very interested in the idea of belief as a tool as well. So I like to play around with different ideas of how God can be portrayed in different cultures. So I have a load of crosses that were bought for me, that I bought for myself, vintage ones, thrifted ones, you name it, I've got it. So I just wanted to mention this one because I think this one has a really great energy. This is just a soapstone cross that I picked up in a little boutique in Bristol, and I really, really love this one. This one I have a thing for. I love the colour, and I just feel like it's got a really good energy, and I kind of play with it quite a lot. I also made this, I had an old pair of earrings, like angel wing earrings, and so I made this pendant. It's an angel wing, and I love that. That gives me a lot of good feelings and ideas of things like spirit guides and mythology and stuff like that. So I like to wear that quite often. Also, I have this, which is particularly important because I've spent quite a lot of time in Russia, and I've travelled around Russia a little bit. I'm a Russophile. I don't know how it happened. I don't have any Russian heritage, but my whole life I was just really interested in Russia and all things Russian. I was really interested in Russian dolls. When I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I got my first set of Russian dolls. And by the time I was a kid and I was seeing like St Basil's Cathedral on the news, I was hooked. I took Russian history for A-level. I started learning the language at 19. And I started going over there in my 20s. So I'm really interested in Russia and all things Russian. And they have kind of an Orthodox tradition over there, so a lot of their art is very different. A lot of their icons are very different. They have a very different style to, I suppose, what you could say the Western stylized Christian art looks like. And this one piece that I bought in Ismailova Market, it's vintage, it's chunky, and it has like the Mother and Christ on one side and then Jesus on the other, and it's got a bell inside it, which is so fantastic. I absolutely love that. Okay, so that is all the Christian and Catholic stuff over with. It was quite a large segment of the video for somebody who is a self-confessed pagan pantheist chaos witch. So I guess my spiritual jewellery spans quite a big genre. But again, it's just all about the reverence. It's all about how it makes me feel, I suppose you could say. And a lot of my intrinsic feelings of reverence and awe came during my visits to Catholic churches as a kid, because my parents, neither of them actually did anything to particularly worship or acknowledge divinity or deity. So when I was at church with my nana, those were the first times that I saw people praying, that I saw people in deep contemplation, communicating with God and that kind of thing. So it's really stayed with me, and it's struck a huge chord in me ever since. So, you know, if I ever walk past a charity shop or a vintage fair or anything where they're selling rosaries, I will be in there like a shot, and I probably will leave with something, because I just don't think I'll ever get over my love of rosaries, really. My mum has a good eye for what I like to call power jewellery, or jewellery that particularly holds a high vibration for her. She kind of feels it, and she goes with it and she buys it. And a little while ago she bought me these earrings, which she told me when she gave them to me were power earrings. She said they will make you feel powerful. I just feel they've got that energy of power. She said as soon as I saw them and I held them, I knew they were for you. And she's not wrong. So I think I'm definitely going to be wearing these earrings during my next ritual, because not only are they absolutely gorgeous, I think they've got garnet stones in them, but they are incredibly powerful. They kind of make me feel my masculine energy coming through, and they make me feel very passionate. They make me feel very creative. When I first wore them, I was like, oh yeah, she's right, these are definitely power earrings. And I'm not talking about like 80s chunky plastic power earrings. I'm talking like these earrings, there's something to them, there's something about them which is very special. So thanks, Mum. My mum also bought me another pendant which I wanted to talk about, another piece of jewellery. It's a pendant. She bought me this eye when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and she told me that when she gave it to me, she told me that the eyes are the windows to the soul. And that kind of stuck with me. I don't know, I think maybe she was just having a particularly thoughtful day and she wanted to kind of impart something to me, but it's something that's always really stayed with me. So I like to wear that on and off, particularly when I'm not sure if my intuition is leading me down the correct road, or if I feel like I really need to get clear on something and I really need to clarify something, I will put that one on. So I guess it's just random bits now. This ring, this stag ring, helps me to tap into my masculine energy. I feel that the masculine energy is quite strong within me, and I will talk a little bit more about what masculine and feminine energy mean in terms of the Jungian perspective, and why people who read Jung and explore Jung and kind of go with his theories, I suppose you could say, talk about feminine and masculine energy. It doesn't actually have to do with gender. It does, but it doesn't. His idea was that there is a woman in every man and a man in every woman. And it's basically just a way of dividing the energies into the main attributes and qualities that society would expect in a man or a woman, in order to make the point that actually one type of energy or the other is toxic. We require a balance. We require those polarities to meet within. And so basically it's just a description of a spectrum, and we use feminine and masculine to actually divide that spectrum into something that can be understood, something that can be relatable for people. So my masculine energy, my go-getting, rational, determined, self-willed energy, the energy of doing, the energy of manifestation, the energy of seed in the earth, is very much brought into being by this little ring here. So if I'm having a day where I feel that I need to be tough and I need to be decisive, I need to be powerful, or I need to take action, I will put this little guy on, and he just makes me feel, I don't know, like, I guess he gives me some green man feelings as well. He gives me that male deity kind of feeling, and I plan to talk about that in a video soon as well, because that's something that I've been really thinking about lately, that there's been certain signs from the universe for me that I need to include male deity, or at least some exploration of male deity, into my practice again. There are male deities that hover on the sidelines for me and have done for a long time, but they've never been central to my practice. Personified deity itself is not central to my practice as such, because I'm a pantheist. However, I work with metaphors, I work with archetypes, and I believe in the collective unconscious. So often deity will come into play. And lately, there have been signs from the universe, in fact, a sign that very, very closely looked like this ring, which was kind of weird, telling me that I require male deity now in my path. So I will talk about that in another video. That's kind of just reminded me. I picked up this bracelet at a charity shop. I completely and utterly love it. I think it's the wrong way around. Here we go. Okay, so you've got the dragon here. It's kind of like a charm bracelet. Shiva. The Buddha. And then you've got like a beautiful kind of peasant, I guess it's a tea ship of sorts maybe, I don't know. And then a temple tower as well. So it is an amazing little charm bracelet, like an Eastern charm bracelet, and I totally love it. And I freaked out because Shiva's body detached from his head at one point, and I had to like very carefully repair him. So I'm very careful about wearing it now, but I totally love it. Other bits that I have, I picked up this, it was actually originally a key ring and I've made it into a pendant. I wear this very regularly, which very much amuses the Hindu guy in the 7-Eleven at the end of the street. We've had many conversations about the Bhagavad Gita at this point, and he insists that I understand it better than he does, which I'm not entirely sure could be true, but he's the first person that explained to me that Hinduism is actually widely held as a pantheistic set of beliefs, which I was really shocked by. But actually reading more about Brahman and so on, it makes total sense. But I picked up this little key ring, it's Krishna, the blue god, and I made it into a pendant, and I wear that quite a lot. I love that one. Other things I have, the triquetra, which is commonly believed to only have come around in the period of Celtic art where Christianity started to come into play, but actually you can find it on rune work, you can find it in a lot of different parts of Celtic art that have been explored that were pre-Christian. In fact, it's known to be kind of a metaphor for anything that's threefold, and the idea that it meant the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit came into play much later, when I think a lot of things were being kind of warped, or the perception was being slightly manipulated. But because I have a strong Celtic heritage, I have a Celtic name originally. Well, Kelly is a Celtic name. It means warrior maiden or warlike one, and it derives from the surname O'Cailly, which means strife, which I think is beautiful, because I think I've lived through a hell of a lot of that. And also I can actually provide quite a bit of strife, particularly to boyfriends. So yeah, I strongly embrace my Celtic ancestry. I've always been encouraged to by my father, my parents, my ancestors, my family, my dad's side of the family. So I like to keep stuff like that on me, although I don't follow the Celtic pantheon overtly. There are other pantheons which I prefer. This is my good luck charm. It's my 4-leaf clover. It brings good luck, which is why I've included it. I also have a lot of other good luck charms. I suppose it's kind of a cutesy thing, really, but there are lots of things that I wear to bring me good luck. In fact, I have a good luck eyeshadow for you girls who wear makeup. Midnight Cowboy Rides Again by Urban Decay. If you're going to a job interview and you wear that, you will get the job, although you do have to put a bit of primer on because it will go everywhere. It's very, very glittery. I have some I Ching coins, which I wear around my neck sometimes. I read the book of I Ching from time to time. I cannot read I Ching, but I delve into the book using it for bibliomancy, and I use it for bibliomancy for my clients, and it's very, very effective. So I'm a big fan of the book of I Ching. I also have this pendant, which is a sun. I don't know, I guess I wanted to wait for me to have my camera to do this video, but God knows when it's coming, it's just taking forever. So I'm just doing it now, so I apologise if you can't really see that much, but this little guy, there we go, he's a sunshine. I had 2 pagan girlfriends a long time ago. I suppose you could have even called this a coven. We certainly didn't practice magic together, but we practiced ritual for the 8-spoke wheel of the year. That is now a thing of the past, unfortunately. Just because 3 people are pagan and have roughly the same beliefs apparently doesn't mean that they can always be respectful of each other, mindful of each other, and defend each other's choices in life. So unfortunately that isn't kind of a thing anymore. So for a long time, because I bought 3 pendants, I bought a leaf, I bought this sunshine, and I bought something else, I can't remember, but I bought them in a very spiritual, hyper pagan place in Cornwall when I was travelling down there visiting pagan sites. And I bought these 3 pendants home, and we immediately decided who should get what. And I got the sun because I just have this masculine energy, and I guess I can see why they would think that I should have the sun. When the friendship broke down, I couldn't work out whether or not I still wanted to wear this. But I think a lot of the time, following the psychological model for me, particularly in magic, you foist your energy onto it. And I think it's always good to try and, as Charlie Says Go just said in a video today, cleanse yourself and cleanse your energy before you cleanse the energy of the space. I feel that way as well about objects. I think you need to cleanse your energy, cleanse your perception, become a clear vessel before you start deciding that the energy of an object is inherently not tasty. So I did that, and I realised that the sun can stay. I'm not going to go into this too much, but I know a couple of you guys mentioned it when I wore these for my Ostara Contemplations video. I picked up these little matryoshka things in Russia. I picked up lots of them, and I make pendants and earrings with them. For me, the matryoshki are a symbol of the divine feminine. That's how I feel about it. And I also feel like they're obviously a symbol of something within something within something eternally. And I also feel that they are a psychological symbol of how we can strip back the layers of the psyche, much like an onion, and really get to those seeds of intuitive, divine feminine and masculine within, and the divine source within, and the idea of who we are when we are stripped of our false perceptions, or when we are stripped of our environmental influences. So for me, the Matryoshka doll really makes me get into that kind of terrain, and I absolutely love them. So I always have them around. I have a few sets of dolls. I have one on my bedside table, and I have odd bits of Matryoshka jewellery that I wear. Okay, sugar skull bracelet. I have quite a few of these sugar skull bracelets, sugar skull pendants, sugar skull boxes. I have some Mexican heritage, and I kind of have always tapped into it on and off through my life. My mother has always been very keen to tell me that I'm partly descended from Aztecs, so I guess I guess I've thought a lot about that, and I've thought about how it's potentially affected me as a person, and I've thought about how it interests me and how the energies that surround it interest me. Um, and also, I don't know if this is strictly to do with spiritual jewellery or whatever, but Frida Kahlo has been one of my heroines for about 10 years now. I'm fascinated by her and her art and her words and her life. And when I first discovered her, it was during a time in my life where I didn't really feel that I could be beautiful like this. I felt like a bit of an ugly duckling in a lot of ways. Like when I was a kid, I was obviously very dark, like I am now. I was dark, but I was pale. So, you know, I had like one eyebrow, the monobrow, and a little bit of a tash, and I was obviously kind of, I looked more primal, I suppose you could say. I don't know if that's the right way of saying it. I certainly have never looked English, and I get asked a lot where I'm from. And I tell people where I'm from, and they say, no, I mean, where are you from originally? And I get asked this by a lot of Asians and stuff, like, where are you from originally? Because they seem to think it must be somewhere closer to their ends. So I do get that I'm not a typical English rose, but when you're a child and you're going through difficulties trying to fit in with the other girls, and you know they all have very fair skin and fair hair and kind of don't look like you. I mean, I look a lot more every day now than I did when I was that age. When I was that age, it was obvious that I was actually quite different in terms of my phenotype than the other girls in the class. And Frida Kahlo, when I discovered her when I was doing GCSE art and I was looking for an artist to kind of focus on and write about, she really taught me how to be beautiful. She taught me that I could embrace what I look like and who I am and what's actually come through from my ancestry. And I love that about her. In fact, when I changed my name officially, when my surname became Maddox, I changed my middle name to Frida. My middle names are Frida and Regine. So Frida, yeah, Frida without an E, a tribute to my lady. So when I wear sugar skulls, I sometimes also think of Frida Kahlo. I also have these bracelets, which I'm planning to wear during a ritual quite soon. They have little skulls on them. One is red and one is white. I picked them up because I like to think of them as the white and red aspects of Santa Muerte. That's what it made me think of, so that's what I'm going with. A few more things. I recently bought this from Etsy from Cute Witch 772, Cara. It's a wheel of the year. It is awesome. It has a banging energy to it. I was looking for something that portrayed kind of the balance within my paganism and stuff, and I was thinking a lot about the Wheel of the Year, particularly after Beltane, when I was thinking about how little I felt I could embrace it before, and suddenly now it was all kind of like pouring out of me, this feeling of balance and stuff. And I came across this on her Etsy shop and I had to buy it, and it has a really nice energy, probably because it was made with intention, handmade by another witch. So when I opened it, I was just like, ah, yes, that feels good. And when I have a little bit of spare money in the bank, I'm going to actually get her to make me another one exactly the same, but with the Chaos Star motif on it, because I really would love something else by her, and I would love to wear a Chaos Star. So yeah, I'm going to get her to do that for me as well. So I'm very excited about that. A few other things. I have some witches, like some stereotypical witches, that I picked up in Boscastle in Cornwall. This is my big witch with the hook nose and the broom. And this is my teeny, teeny, tiny little one. Teeny, tiny little witch. How cute is she? She is so sweet. So yeah, I like stereotypical witches. It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing. I have my little Sagittarius pendant. As I've said before, I'm not hugely into astrology, but I love the archer and I love the centaur. I love the symbolism of it. Again, I think it's a very masculine feeling that symbol gives me. And in the mythic tarot, I believe it's the Hierophant is depicted as a centaur and a scribe. So I love that. I think that's great. I have a crown because I am a queen in my own right. I've channeled the queen archetype and I am constantly wearing my invisible crown. And the four queens in tarot are a big deal for me. So I like to sometimes wear that. I have these beads which a friend bought me back from Bolivia when he travelled out there. Now, every so often you will come across a piece which I feel just holds a very important energy. And you know when you pick it up, when you feel it, when somebody puts it in your hand for the first time, you can tell that it just has some special significance that you can't quite explain. So I often wear this during magical workings and in rituals sometimes. I think they're beautiful. They're red, white, and black, and they kind of look a bit like kind of black-eyed beans. And there's just something about this bracelet. Of course, I don't know the specific origin, but there's something about it that just gets me going. I have some unks, or anks, I'm not really sure how you say it, the symbol for eternal life in Egyptian mythology. This one has wings on, and also appears to have horns on as well, which is interesting, and it was sent to me by a friend from the Netherlands years ago, and I still wear it, and I still love it. And this one was given to me. It actually belonged to a woman's sister who died tragically young of cancer. She'd moved out to Cairo to live with a doctor that she married, and she had lots of traditional Egyptian jewellery. And the woman, who was a friend of my mother's, gave me this piece with hieroglyphs and ankhs on it. And it has an incredibly special energy, and I will keep it for the rest of my life. It has an energy that is both melancholy and holds kind of the vibrant nature of a city within it. So I really love it. And finally, I'm just going to take you through a few of the key crystal pendants that I have. I have two carnelians. One is a heart, which is really lovely, because for me, carnelian is all about sociability, emotional warmth, the ability to open up to others. I often put a bit of carnelian on when I'm feeling like a bit of a hermit, or when I'm nervous about a situation, when I need some Dutch courage. I won't drink it, I'll wear it. Carnelian is a really special stone for me, so I have a couple of them. I have a sodalite piece, which is my birthstone, and which people tend to feel leads to objective thinking, rational thinking, clarifying the mind, and that kind of thing. A small tiger's eye heart, which is really beautiful and was given to me by a friend ages ago. A piece of jet. Now, jet for me is a big stone. This one is particularly polished, but I have a few pieces of rougher jet, which I love. Jet for me is a big stone. I think it's representative of me. I think there's something about that stone that lifts me, anchors me, centres me, lifts my depression, makes me feel that I can protect myself, that I can be bold in my choices. There's something about it that is so spiritual. I'm not, as I've probably said before, a huge crystal nut, and I don't have a lot of the metaphysical properties in my mind, but I like to go with what I intuitively feel. And I think there's something about the sacred geometry, as they like to say, of jet, which lends itself very appropriately to me. I have a rose quartz star. This is the first piece of jewellery that I bought for myself after I officially declared myself a witch, which was when I was literally 12 or 13. I was young. I hadn't cracked a hell of a lot of books, but I was getting my hands on whatever I could. I'd bought Wicca by Vivian Crowley by that age, and I was underlining things. I think it was that book that I had. But yeah, I had a few books and a couple of friends who were willing to try things with me, like candle wax magic and water magic, and I was really getting into it. And this was the first piece of jewellery that I bought for myself. It came on a little leather string, and I absolutely love it. I will cherish it forever, because it really is the first symbol of a pathway that I started embracing, which I am embracing now, and embracing more passionately. And yeah, it just gives me such a lovely feeling. And finally, I don't know if anyone can actually identify this stone, but this is a vintage pendant that I bought online. It came from Mexico, and I know well the woman who was selling it. She is a huge fan of traditional Mexican art, traditional Mexican fashion, and she has an absolute back catalogue of vintage stuff that she's bought over there. And she told me a little bit about the history of it, which is what attracted me to buy it, but I have no idea what the stone is at all. It's kind of a greeny brown, very earthy stone that kind of reminds me of soil and sustenance coming up from the soil. But it's so decorative, and it's obviously an imitation from another kind of culture, which has been kind of crafted to fit the Mexican aesthetic, but it's got this very Victorian vibe to it, so it's obviously not traditional folk art. It's been made to emulate a certain Western style, and that's another part of what I love about it, that I think it was worn by a very well-to-do lady. So I don't know what stone it is, but it makes me feel very powerful. I have worn this several times during magical workings. 35 minutes. If you've stuck with me this long, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it because it's been absolutely lovely to showcase all my geeky spiritual stuff to people who might actually care about it and be in wonderment about it and stuff. So that's really, really cool. Thank you so much for your time. Blessed be.